Okay everyone, Wednesday morning and your daily dose of Celtic news in the morning. Full disclosure, there's not a massive amount of things happen. There's still a few stories that I think are interesting that I want to touch on. And it just means we can get on with this and you can get on with your day much quicker. So let's do it. Just on that actually, I just want to quickly say a big thanks to all of you who are watching the videos, continuing to support the channel. I don't tend to thank you too often because I like to just talk about Celtic and you'd all, much prefer if I just spoke about Celtic rather than the channel. But I do appreciate all of you who have built Celtic AM into your daily routine. I got some really nice comments last week that I've not been able to get back to yet, but it is really appreciated from those people and everyone who watches the channel. So thank you for me. You make it all worthwhile. Let's move on and talk about Celtic. How are you finding the free midweek, everyone? It's weird not for me, certainly. I'm sure it is for everyone, but for me doing the videos, not having a game to preview in midweek and not having a game to review, it's just weekend to weekend. It feels a bit empty, I'll be honest. I'm kind of struggling for things to talk about. But it's going to be like this between now and the end of the season. But I think the players, given a couple of days off, they'll be recharged and ready to go for Sunday. It's a long wait for Sunday, but it's going to be a pretty big game. I think on the pitch, we're up against a team that are on a 15-match unbeaten run. They've won 11 of those games, including against ourselves recently. And we all know how tough a game it was at Easter Road. This Sunday is the Scottish Cup, and it's the one that will really get us going between now and the end of the season. Obviously winning the league's important and it's a bit of a formality at this stage. The Scottish Cup is what we need to complete our treble. So really looking forward to Sunday's game on the pitch. I think off the pitch though, equally, I think it's going to be a really good atmosphere at Celtic Park. We all know it's going to be a little bit of an unusual atmosphere as well, in the sense that we're going to, certainly now see the biggest away support we've seen at our stadium in I think just shy of 7 years. I think the 5-0 derby win over Rangers is the last time we'd have seen such a big support at Celtic Park. And personally, I can't remember a Scottish team that wasn't Rangers pre or post 2012 bringing a support that size to Celtic Park. So it's going to be a bit of a unique one on Sunday. Just a bit of an update because we do know that Hibs were granted an allocation of 7,000 tickets due to Scottish Cup rules, which allow you to get far bigger away supports in order to improve the atmosphere and all of that kind of stuff with it being the Cup. Hibs did deliver an update yesterday evening, and the latest is that they've now sold over 6,200 tickets. So there's less than 800 tickets remaining for their end, and that's great news. You would think with the game still 4 and a bit days away, you'll see that full allocation at Celtic Park, and it will be a sold out Celtic Park as well. And you're not going to have the same segregation area as we've had in derbies in years gone by either. So it should really be absolutely packed, and what we have 53,000 Celtic fans there. So it's going to be pretty special. Rangers used to receive around 8,000 tickets. Hibs have 7,000. So it is a little bit less, and they have been posting online, Hibs, about having tickets in blocks 116 and 17, and also the upper tier as well once those are sold. So I think it's fair to say their allocation will come all the way around. For those of you watching, it's in orange there. So it's going to be a big away support, and it's not something we often see in Scottish football. So forgive me for being a bit excited. Even though I'm not going, I'm really looking forward to watching it on the TV. And I think the Celtic support will have a big role to play in the game on Sunday as well. And I think the fact there's a sizable away support will really get the Celtic support going as well. Was the game originally meant to be like a Saturday night? I'm sure I heard that at first, and that would have been even more special, but Sunday afternoon will have to do. And I think for the players as well, I think this is good news. I think the bigger the match, the better you feel about this Celtic team. We have no problem reaching our top level for these big matches, whether it be derbies or games against Aberdeen at the start of the season when they were flying. Generally, the Celtic performance is really good. I know there's been the odd exception like Ibrox at the start of the year, but I feel good about Sunday. I think it's going to be a test against Hibs, who are clearly confident And I think they're going to have a go at us because it's a cup tie and there's no replaying offer for them at Easter Road. So they need to win the match or win it in penalties, I guess. But I think they're going to come and have a go and going to be really confident. And I think that should allow us an opportunity to really impose ourselves in the game as well. So very much looking forward to everyone. The officials have been named as well. This was done yesterday. So referee is going to be Nick Walsh. You're going to have Frank Connor and Colin Drummond running the line or lines. VAR is Kevin Clancy. Assistant VAR is Andrew McWilliam. So yeah, the preview for this game has kept going and going. We'll discuss it a bit more. I'll get some guys on the channel between now and then, hoping to speak to Hibs fan Liam, who's been on in the past as well, to find out how they're feeling ahead of the game. So we will leave no stone unturned ahead of this match. I just want to move it on though. Wee bit of chat about Reo Hatate potentially leaving the club in the summer. This has been in the media last night. You may have seen this headline from the Daily Record that read, Reo Hatate intimates Celtic transfer exit plan as Lennon Miller becomes his prime midfield successor. This is something I spoke about a bit with Stevie yesterday. We were talking about Lennon Miller coming in and potentially who would make way if he is coming in. I think we all kind of feel that someone would have to make way. I don't know, could you operate with 6 midfielders? I think potentially you could then maybe rotate Cal McGregor a bit more. We've obviously got 5 midfielders at the moment, and we all felt, McGregor's going to be there next season. Engels, Bernardo, McCowan, all have unfinished business at Celtic. They've still got to really play a good bit for us. And, all 3 of them were signed permanently this summer. So they're kind of in their first permanent seasons at the club. So, Hatate's the obvious one you look at that could potentially move on. So I just do want to talk about this headline because I did wake up to a WhatsApp message from an unnamed Celtic AM contributor who kind of has it in for Reo Hatate. Let's call him Stephen. Yeah, Stephen messaged me and brought up this thing and said, it looks like Hatate's going to be heading in the summer. Now, I should just clarify here that Hatate hasn't intimated anything at this stage publicly, or it's actually that's not been reported by any outlet. No outlet is actually saying Hatate's intimated he wants to leave. The quotes are from, wait for it, Keith Jackson. Yes, you heard that correctly. He reckons that Hatate has intimated that he's done his bit at Celtic. Keith Jackson's now given his own quotes on this, and he's getting the headlines as well. The main part of the Daily Record article actually features quotes from Scott Burns, who was the one who broke the update on Lennon Miller yesterday, and he's also saying that Hatate is the most likely to move on this summer to make way for Lennon Miller. And again, that's something I think the vast majority of us would agree with for the reasons that I just outlined a few minutes ago. So yeah, we covered the Lennon Miller stuff yesterday, but it does seem like if he's, or wherever he's going to want to play. I think he's quite a switched on guy. He's got really good support from, his father, Lee Miller, and whoever else is representing him, that he doesn't just want to get a big move and then maybe not get game time. He's going to want to go into a club and play. I think he could play at Celtic, and we're clearly interested in him, but we're going to face a fair bit of competition. It's already getting a bit daft though. I saw Leon were linked with Lennon Miller yesterday. A figure of £8 million mentioned as well. So we probably all just have to calm down a little bit there. Just going back to the Reo Hatate stuff, yeah, he potentially might leave in the summer. If you were asking me, for sure, what do you think? I think he probably will, just because he'll have been at the club for, I think, 3.5 years at that stage. It just feels like he's one that would probably want to move on at that stage, and one that Celtic could probably make a bit of money for, but also not miss too much. I think Hatate's a great player. I think he's been really good recently, but I do think he's a player we could potentially replace as well. He's contracted until 2028, so he just signed a new deal, I think, was at the start of last season. So I'd be looking for at least 10 million for Reo Hatate if he moves on this summer. Similar fee to what we got for Kyogo, and we could probably be pretty happy with that. But I should again just highlight that nothing's actually happened here. Hatate hasn't publicly intimated he wants to leave Celtic, or no, he's not told any journalists this. This is just Keith Jackson giving some quotes, which I guess is his job Oh no, his job's actually getting quotes from other people. Guess I'm blacklisted from the Daily Record now. So that's where we're at. Just a final note today on Hatate's international teammate and potential summer Celtic signing Kyogo Furuhashi. Yeah, just putting it out there in case it happens and I can look like Hamish, you would say. It's a bit of a quieter day today, as I said at the top of the show, so please accept my apologies for talking about a former player. I've heard a few people talking about this, but Kyogo's endured a pretty tough start to life at Rennes. The manager who signed him, Jorge Sampaoli, left a few days after Kyogo arrived at the club. His replacement, Habib Bey, who's, you'll probably know the name, former Newcastle United defender. He's come in and actually improved Rennes' fortunes. They've won the majority of their matches. They're kind of clear of relegation trouble now, up to I think 11th in Ligue 1. But it's not gone too well for Kyogo. He's played in just 2 games, played a total of 84 minutes actually, and has been an unused sub for Rennes in their last 2 matches. So it's not going so well for Kyogo, and some people in France are already suggesting that he could potentially be moving on from there in the summer. Take Justin Favre, for example. He writes for the website Jeune Photo, and he wrote to say, a casting error, not a choice by Habib Bey, who prefers to rely on Arnaud Kalimwendo at centre forward. Furuhashi will have to be patient. In our opinion, it would not be surprising to see him pack up and leave during the next transfer window. The fact remains that some choices are enough to leave you with regrets. And that final sentence is probably the kind of thing I would imagine Lee Griffiths has got tattooed on his neck. He's actually in Australia. I saw him photographed with Patrick Klimala recently. Klimala's playing with Sydney. I'd still love to speak to you on the channel, Lee. Apologies for having a go at your tattoo. A tough one for Kyogo. I guess my takeaway here would be, and it's obviously very early and he could still work his way into the plans, and genuinely I hope he does. Like, I'm not one of these people that ever really harbours a grudge when a player leaves Celtic. I don't think have I ever really done that. I did once get quite wound up when we were playing Bayer Leverkusen, and Jeremy Frimpong, who I absolutely love. I think Leverkusen were 4-0 up on us at Celtic Park, and Frimpong was doing wee flicks and stuff. That wound me up a fair bit. But generally, I think when players leave, you want them to do well. And I know it's been a bit of a tough start for Kyogo and also Matt O'Reilly, who's had injury troubles at Brighton. But it maybe just is a bit of a reminder that Celtic's a pretty unique club and a pretty amazing place. And while obviously we don't play in the best league and one of the most competitive leagues, and players leave to play in more competitive leagues, that's really the only reason they leave. If Celtic played in a top league, players wouldn't want to leave us. I think it's a reminder that sometimes just the connection you have at Celtic can't be found anywhere else, and sometimes Celtic, I guess these players maybe don't know how good they have it sometimes. Just speak to someone like Jota, who had it at Celtic, moved away for, again, money reasons, but that's not something we hold a grudge over at all. Everyone, I reckon, would do that for the sums that he would have been receiving in Saudi. But now he's come back and he kind of loves it even more than the first time, because once you lose that, you want it back. And I just wonder if further down the line, Kyogo might feel like that. But he was a great player for Celtic. We're not massively missing him, I don't think, because Daizen Maida's come in. And I think it's fair to say Maida, since Kyogo left, has been better than Kyogo was at the start of the season. I don't think that's an outlandish comment to say. So everything is well, I think, apart from for Kyogo, Matt O'Reilly, Lee Griffiths, and Keith Jackson. Okay, everyone, back tomorrow.